Thank you for joining us today. Anything you hear in this podcast is not to be taken for medical advice. This podcast is for information purposes only, and should you find something interesting in the information spoken about, please consult your physician further.
All right, let's roll with it. Hello, we're back with you, your host Trent Peterson of the Broken Road Podcast. Today I'm joined by Jeff Collin, a good friend of mine, and I'm very excited to have him here. And hopefully we'll learn some things from him today and hear his story, and hopefully it inspires others. How you doing, Jeff?
Morning, Trent. How are you, brother?
Good. So I guess we could start by how we met. And, we haven't known each other for a long time, but we have known each other for a little bit now. And I think it was shortly after the accident, which we're going to get to. But
yeah, I think I was like on month 6.
Okay.
In recovery when I met you out at Jason's. Yeah.
So it was at Jason's. That's right.
It was at Jason's. He was doing that remodel. Yeah, but we clicked pretty quick. Some guys do, some guys don't. I kind of felt like I've known you for a lot longer than I actually have. So, yeah. I think that's when we met.
So I guess we can just dig right into it. What brings you to the Broken Road Podcast? And I mean, how did you get to it? Why do you belong in this project? I know, but let's tell everybody.
Well, some folks might know me and know what I do. Been here. My name's Jeff Collin. I've been here since 2007. My wife and I were corporate yuppie type employees. I was in commercial industrial construction on the pipe end. Had been a union hand. And we sort of retired. We had a 2-year-old, and we made a really, really, really strong. I mean, it was hard for us at the time. We picked up and moved. We were on the West Coast, and I had a friend here, and that's how we found Stephenville. He was actually going through some tough stuff. And I came back and spent a couple weeks with him, and we had already been kind of discussing, we don't want to raise this kid in a big city, We'd been married, I want to say we'd been married about 7 years before we got pregnant.
Okay.
So we came to Stephenville in 2007, and I have been I've had a water treatment business since then.
How did you end up in Stephenville? I mean, that's kind of everybody asks me the same question, and Stephenville does draw people from all over the United States. It does.
Well, like I said, my best friend in the whole wide world, us guys would talk about our friends, like we got 5 of them. But this guy is my brother from another mother. He moved out of Arizona. He was actually raised in Fort Worth, but he spent most of his adult life in Arizona. They moved his daughter here because she was a very competitive barrel racer out there at a young age. So they wanted to bring her where it was going on. So they brought her back here, and they were here for about 2 years. And she got diagnosed with very aggressive, very bad cancer.
Oh.
And Lord took her, I think, about 8 months after diagnosis. So he took a pretty hard hit. And I hopped on an airplane, pushed pause on my life, and came out here and spent 2 weeks. And I just kind of fell in love with the place. It really spoke to me as a place to raise a family.
Oh, yeah.
So subsequent couple of 2 or 3 months, we made the decision, and we gathered up what money we could, and we moved here and started this little business. And man, the first 10 years was, you just think when you're doing something at a high level in a metroplex, then you come to a market that just doesn't move like that.
No, it's a lot slower.
So there was a learning curve there.
Stand still.
Yeah, there was a learning curve there. So business, we're a water treatment business. We fix well water. We fix city water. We do commercial, industrial, consulting. But primarily what our role is, and I still self-execute. I've got a couple of hands, but I'm out in the field every day. I'm not in the office. Mm-hmm. Especially during my recovery, work was one thing for me that was therapeutic. I didn't, out of everything I lost, the weird scattered kind of spider web together memories that I ended up in recovery with after the end of all of it. All of the tech stuff stayed. I didn't lose any of that.
Right.
So I feel really blessed for that. But so anyway, how I got here. In June of 22, my wife, my 2 kids, I got 2 kids. Amanda and I have Aiden, who's a sophomore down in A&M, and I've got Abigail, who is a sophomore here at Steenville High. And so in 22, we went back to Yuma, Arizona, where I'm from, and we packed my mom up. Mom had hit the age where she didn't need to live by herself anymore, and out of everybody in the family, we were the closest as far as relationship goes. So we made the decision that we'd go ahead and bring Mom back here. She liked it here. So I went out there and I packed her up, and we got her property in escrow. She had some rental property. And 3 weeks, we hauled her whole life home in a U-Haul, and we got home late on a Thursday night. Friday morning we got up, we unloaded the U-Haul. Had my hand at the time help us. We did it pretty quick, but it was a lot of stuff. So, being a business owner, anytime you take any time off, that phone can go crazy.
Right.
So when you do get back in pocket, the loudest barking dog is the one you go see first.
Oh yeah, always.
So
Squeaky wheel gets grease, right?
Yeah. So I did that. Amanda and the girls said, "Hey, we're going to go to the grocery store. We got to go to H-E-B, get some stuff in the fridge." My son, I said, "Hey, you want to go with me? I'm going to go run a couple calls." He said, "No, I've got some stuff I need to do." I said, "Okay." So I leave the house about 11:30 a.m. and I get to 3025. This customer had a pretty fresh house out there that had been built, and we had put, prior to this event, I think he'd had my equipment about 6 months. And he was a customer that I ignored some red flags personality-wise. I got in a groove, and I didn't turn anything down. And I kind of heard this guy was
He'd already started building a reputation.
Yeah, he was just kind of an ornery old man. That's a
And
completely...
that's nothing unusual. I mean, I'm sure if being self-employed, you come across that time to time, so you do get to where you ignore red flags every once in a while. Things that tell you maybe I shouldn't go do that today. You're trying to make a living, trying to take care of your family. I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No.
I totally get that. I mean, when you're self-employed, there are things that you have to do, even when you don't want to.
That's right.
It's just part of it. It comes with the territory.
Yeah, you got to find that balance there. I jokingly borrow a phrase from a fellow that's passed on now, but everybody here will know the name, Philip Alford. Mm-hmm. He and I, when I first got here in 07, of course he was disassociated with Alfred Water here by the time. And he always threw this phrase at me when he was advising me in my business, preferred customer profile. Well, I never had a preferred customer profile, but now I do. Mm-hmm. So when the flags start going pink, I start easing towards the door nowadays. I don't let them go red. But again, it's another area you got to be careful. Being self-employed, you just can't walk away from opportunities. But some of them you can't afford to invest in. So I learned that the hard way. This individual and I, the guy was in his mid-70s. Long story short, we can go into it at a later time. And I want to stop right here, and I just want to let you know how honored I am to be invited here and to be part of the Broken Road Project. Mm-hmm. And right now, my heart, I foresee trying to do as much with the project as I can. Something kind of near and dear to my heart. I really, what you're doing has reached me. And it got me, I'd kind of, in my recovery, I'd gotten to a point where I wasn't moving forward. Mm-hmm. And then you going through what you went through, I had to go back and deal with some of the things I hadn't dealt with. And it's been good. It's been good. So anyway, sorry, rabbit trail there, folks. Okay. I'll do that once in a while. This individual, this customer, he shot me at a close range with a .32 caliber Beretta. I was quartering away from him as he was pulling the gun. He punched me in the face, backed up. He had a concealed handgun in the small of his back, and he produced it, and he shot me. Then he put it to my head, and I got in the truck and had a conversation of begging, please, not to finish the job. So we'll just go from there with that. So there's the injury. Took a .30 caliber on the left side of my abdomen, transversed my abdomen, turned south. Those bullets are pretty light. They deflect. Mm-hmm. Turned south, went down through my hips, took another left and smashed into my my tailbone, my coccyx, if you will. I actually turned the thing in a 90. It hit so hard. But originally, when I got air flighted out of here, I don't want to give a mention to Miss Marilyn Brister, Miss Marilyn Brister, Dr. Brister as well, know her. She was attending that day when I came in. And, I really, that one sticks out. Different contacts, mm-hmm. When we come out of it, you're stringing these things together.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And one of the things that I remember is her putting both hands on my face and saying, baby, you're hurt. You're hurt bad. But I got a helicopter in the air. Hang in. I got you. I remember that. So shout out Dr. Brister. Thanks for taking care of me.
Were you still able to talk at that point?
I was good to go. I was still in shock. I was in triage here in Stephenville for probably about 15 minutes before the pain load hit. Shock wore off. Pain load finally hit. Adrenaline, all that transfer finally wore off.
Kind of realized what's really going on.
Well, and I started hurting. Yeah. And the pain was so doggone. We all like to think at our age where we have a high threshold of pain. And I think I do. But that was the kind of pain that,
I can't imagine.
Yeah, that pain was, it almost takes your consciousness. You're conscious, but barely.
I've heard it described as like your body feels cold, but it feels so hot where that bullet actually went through, and especially if it stays inside of you, it's actually just sitting there burning for a good amount of time. I heard it on another podcast. It's the best description I'd heard yet to this point of kind of what that's.
I agree. That's
fairly accurate.
That's what I experienced. So anyway, that was a tough haul. So the Care for Life folks got there, and I don't know how many folks in Stephenville know it. I think they've since poured a new sidewalk, but they had to take me the long way on my gurney to get to the helipad. Had to go out of the emergency room, down the back of the hospital, hook a left in front of the hospital, go over and cross the road to the helipad.
That's a long ways.
You want to
going back to the backside? By the police substation.
Yeah, and by then, like I said, they tried codeine and fentanyl, and it wasn't touching the pain. So my BP was scary. They were afraid I was going to have a heart attack. My BP was scary because of the pain. So anyway, got on the helicopter, felt every bump and everything down that sidewalk. That was a heck of a ride. I came into recovery like you. We're all, some of us are compelled to change things we experienced or to have an impact to make things better for the next folks to follow us. And that was my biggest thing. It's kind of trivial, but I'm going to see whoever I got to see and get that whole sidewalk thing straightened out. Do they need a bridge possibly over that thing? There's got to be a better way to
That's what's stuck in your head.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way to load patients in those birds. But anyway, got up to was the same hospital you were in. Okay, landed on the same roof.
Downtown,
Yep, landed on the same roof. There were 4 teams of about 5 to 6 people in there, and each one of those teams had to check in and check out. So the folks that ended up staying that they deemed to be the ones to go first was surgical team. Mm-hmm. Had an awesome surgical team. Dr. Choi saved my life. He let me know when we went into surgery. He got, again, like Dr. Brister did, got right in my face, wanted to cut through the noise of the room, and said, hey, you're going to be okay. It's going to be a long surgery. Gave me a couple of possible downsides I might wake up to. So said a prayer and went on in, and it's another thing I don't want to leave out. I'm going to backtrack here just a little bit. So I drove myself from 3025 to the hospital here in Stephenville with my finger in the wound. And on that ride, of course, I was on the phone with 911. My biggest concern was being stopped for speeding. I wasn't bleeding because I wasn't allowing myself. So I was bleeding at such a high rate, my abdomen was getting tight, and I was feeling even more pressure than I had already felt. Because when I originally got shot, I just felt some pressure down low there. So I knew I needed to get there fast, and I could wiggle my toes. My fingers were good, so I knew I didn't have any spinal injury. So I knew, okay, it's not super irresponsible. You don't have time to wait. You're bleeding. So I took off. You know, your brain goes into survival mode and those kind of things. I think all of us have, especially guys or blue collar guys, outdoor guys, we're around stuff sometimes when it goes south, and you know, you've got to do that.
I'm sure you wanted to get as far away from where it happened as well.
That too.
Yeah.
That too.
So you're driving to the hospital.
Driving to the hospital, and I've got 911, and at the time, my speakerphone on my phone didn't work. So I'm holding the phone and I'm driving, and hopefully everybody that is getting this podcast knows Christ. So if you don't, this is going to sound a little too Christian for you, but it's the absolute truth. I did 3 things with 2 hands for about 9 miles. So I got the information across to 911. Mm-hmm. She said, okay. She cleared me to drive. She ran me through a quick checklist. By that time, I was already on 108 doing about 80. Yeah. So she said, I'll have Lincolnville Road blocked off for you. Just stay on the line. I said, ma'am, I've got to call my wife. She said, call your wife, call me back. Boom. I told Amanda, I'll be at the hospital. I'm going to the hospital. This fella shot me. It was just literally that short.
Yeah, I'm sure she had
hung up,
questions.
911, got her back. She said, okay, how you doing? I said, I'm doing okay. I'm coming up on Lincolnville Road. She said, I got troopers blocking you. I said, okay. So I guess I'm just coming out of the Hampton S-curves, I guess. And I told her, I was like, well, ma'am, I'm dying. So I'm going to talk to my God. So if you need to talk to me, you're going to have to pull me out of prayer. And I went into a open, out loud pleas to my Maker to not let this be it. Mm-hmm. That I, you know, all of the survival pleas, you know, I knew Christ and I had a prayer life. So I knew what I had to do. I knew where I was. I knew immediately it was dire, and I reached out to God, and I did it in such a low groaning, 100% of self reach out. God, come to me. I'm in trouble. Well, 3 things got done with 2 hands, and I made it to the ER. Just wanted to backtrack to that.
Absolutely.
God is good. Christ is real.
Amen.
So these tangible things that we search for in our spiritual walks, you know, the hardest thing about faith is the intangible. Well, folks, I'm in the club of felt the tangible. Mm-hmm. He met me where I was. So anyway, backtrack just a little bit more. Part of what I had to go through in my recovery were things that went on right in the beginning of the thing. And one of the things that ended up being the hottest coal, the heaviest weight, if you will, was, like I said, Dr. Brewster told me I was hurt pretty good. So it was brought up, is your family here? Mm-hmm. So my family was out there. Had dear friends that showed up that were customers. Henry and Kim Doss, just dear people. He told the medical staff that he was my pastor, and he barged into that doggone triage room while I was coping with pain. He was rubbing my feet, keeping me distracted, and he was praying over me the whole time. So he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go get your mom and your wife and your kids." Mm. So I had to say goodbye to those guys because they were about to strap me up to the care flight gurney. Ooh. So that when I did come out of it, and I was trying to put myself back together mentally, and the subsequent days in the hospital, that one, of course, when you go through a bunch of trauma, guys that are pretty strong-faced guys turn into crybabies. And we have to embrace that, because that is part of the healing, and that is part of being stripped threadbare. And I found in my recovery, the most important thing for me was to get my spiritual street clean. My side of the street was really dirty. Like I said, I was a Christ believer, but I was not a Christian. Mm-hmm. I was not obedient. I harbored bitterness and unforgiveness. And all of those things, when Christ met me where I was, those are the things that came with him. And he said, "Okay, we're going to get this straight first, buddy. I got you, but listen." So my spirituality was so tongue and groove in my recovery. I consider the whole thing a God thing. And I'll just say this, might sound ridiculous to folks that have gone through things similar, but I wouldn't give that guy his bullet back for any amount of money in the world. I wouldn't undo what we went through. Now, I would choose to lessen the pain on my family, but as far as what I went through, I'm a better man for all of it. I finally found my God. He finally stirred my heart to obedience and to self. We've got to examine ourselves in His light every day. The old tongue-in-cheek, give it to God. Well, sorry to disappoint anybody or hurt any feelings, but it is just that easy. You have to give it to God. And you got to walk in it. And you got to face Him. You got to turn your face to it.
And that's the point. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, this is on the most extreme. We both dealt with trauma in different ways. Yours is so intense, getting shot. But either way, men deal with it. I mean, I've talked about this quite a bit lately. It's just been on my heart a lot. But the way that we deal with things is so messed up, And God met me where I was at too. And you realize at that moment that all the things that you thought were important really didn't mean anything. So I totally feel that in my heart that, I would have rather not had gone through the stroke either, or those things, but it changed me for the better for the rest of my life. I wouldn't ever change that.
Yeah.
So totally feel that.
Another thing we get about each other, of the many. Great surgeon, great stay up there. I was there, again, short-term, some long-term stuff. I've got it written down here. I got shot, like I said, June 22nd. And I was there about 20 days before they sent me home.
This is still at Texas.
Yeah,
Health,
this is up there.
downtown.
Yep, Justin Tower on the surgical floor.
ICU, I'm sure.
No, I was on the surgical floor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that whole floor is
Right.
pretty much that. So, yeah, went through, I mean, really blessed. You know, that was just out of COVID in 22.
Oh, yeah.
So traveling nurses were a thing when I was on that floor, and God sent me who I needed at the right time. I had some of the most nurturing, caring. Another thing I want to share with the audience, RN does not stand for refreshments and narcotics. Those are the folks that do the healing. Those are the folks that do the practice. Mm-hmm. You know, docs come in and they outline plans, but they're not there with you in the middle of the night when you wake up in a PTSD nightmare. They're not there with you to walk you through the pain.
And patients aren't easy to deal with. You're not happy to be there, thankful that they are taking care of you. But I mean, I was told many times that I was a pretty tough patient. I got a lot of hugs whenever I was finally released to start my therapy outside of the inpatient. But at the same time, they told me, they're like, you were a handful.
Well,
but I agree with you 100%. I mean, I believe that the nurses and the therapists take special people with a special heart to do that. And you can tell the ones that are either burnout or not there for the right reasons also.
And that can happen to any of us, regardless of occupation. So, man, I was blessed because I was clutching Christ's robe with both hands. So anytime any of them come in to meet me, they knew quite well that that's where I was. You know, when I ask, how are you doing? Say, me and Jesus, we're all right now. So let most of those folks be comfortable in their witness to me. I mean, I had complete strangers pray and cry with me on that staff. Mm-hmm. Middle of the night, middle of the afternoon.
That's amazing.
They provided every resource right off the bat. Mental health guy was in my room right away. So did pretty good. So just to kind of get back to the point. So the bullet got left in. It was in my right butt cheek. And they said, it's in the muscle. It's not too far from the skin. Of course, I had a huge incision from there to there. So they didn't want to make another incision to retrieve that bullet because I was forced to lay on my back over the main wound. Mm-hmm. and the repair. So they left that bullet in for 28 days. And I finally got a surgeon in North Fort Worth to take it out. And it was, they hadn't been able to MRI me yet because they left the bullet in. So there was some of the injury that they didn't have a full idea of. So they sent me home after the near 20 days, bullet still in my hip. The thing just got bad. I mean, it got bad. That 28 days, that thing, I couldn't lay on my back. I had to lay on my side. I wasn't sleeping. I was in terrible pain, front and back. So we finally got this guy that said, okay, come and we'll do it outpatient in my office here in North Fort Worth. We'll get it out. I can't remember his name. I know my wife does, but great guy. Again, he said, I think it's foreign body rejection. I don't think this thing is quote unquote infected. In the medical world, they believe that the heat of the bullet cleans it. Well, it went through my lower GI. So he was super, super patient. He numbed me up, took the extra time to numb me up because by then I was so tired and so ouchy. I was like, buddy, just you looking at it is hurting. Like, yeah. Can we do the extra? He's like, man, no problem. He took my vitals and was like, yeah, no kidding. So he got me good and numb and good and relaxed, and he started on me. And of course, the thing was infected, and it was all the way down against my tailbone. So he had to scalpel down to that thing and actually pluck it.
sounds.
It wasn't embedded,
really
but it
fun.
was up against the bone. So,
It sounds awful.
so yeah. So anyway, the thing exploded. It was terrible. It wasn't. It was what I felt like it was because it was hot and the whole 9 yards, and we just know. So put me on an antibiotic. I can't remember which one. I do remember it was an 8-day regime. It wasn't typical, like, usually when they put us on antibiotic, it's 10 plus. So anyway, I came home, felt the relief of that. That was gone. It was one of the hardest problems I had was laying there with that bullet. I just wanted that thing out of me so bad. And
you couldn't lay on your belly. You're laying on your back, so you're going through that pain. That sounds uncomfortable all the way around.
I come back and I have a pretty good recovery. So I've got a pretty quiet 5 days after he pulled that bullet. And then it started. And it was 2 months of pretty tough stuff. The abdominal pain was crazy high. And I was walking. The pain meds, most of them don't agree with me. So when you get so sick and so tired, the last thing you want to do is take something that's going to make you feel worse. So I developed this thing where I would, every hour and a half, 2 hours, I was getting up and walking down the street, walking a couple miles just to cope. If I was moving forward, it seemed like I could cope and think if I was moving, even though it hurt. Found a doc here. He took over my case. Awesome doc. I went in and I said, "Hey, I'm struggling. I'm still in a lot of pain." He's like, "All right, well, let's get you over the imaging folks and let's get a CAT scan."
Which you can do now because you don't have a bullet sitting there underneath the skin.
Right on. So he took that one. He's like, "Well, I want to leave it with radiology a little bit longer." So a few days had gone by, and he said, "Hey, will you go back over there? She wants to do some injected and some oral contrast. Radiologist wants another look." So they did that. The following day, he called me, and it was mid-afternoon, late afternoon, I guess, 3-ish, 4-ish. He said, "Need you to go back to Justin Tower down there." I said, "Okay, what's going on?" He's like, "Well, I'm just going to give you a quick one, but I really need you to move, or I'm going to have to put you in a care flight ambulance. You need to go now to that ER." I said, "Okay, doc, what is it?" He's like, "Well," and I'm going to say this wrong. So they had to go through my lower intestines, my bowels, and my colon. Bullet pierced all of that stuff. So I had, we'll just call them couplings for us pipe guys and us construction guys. They coupled my lower intestines back together. They had to couple my bowel back together, remove a large section of it. So I lost some weight coming out of surgery. And they had to stitch my colon back together. It had lacerated my colon. So all of those couplings were infected in the size of donuts and leaking.
Whoa.
So figured out, he's like, "Yeah, you're probably in the beginning stages of sepsis. So I'm scared. Hurry.
Body's getting poisoned."
Yeah, I'm scared. Hurry. And he's a cool customer. When that guy says, "Hey, let's figure out how to get you there the fastest," you listen. I'd gotten to know him well enough. So got there. They actually, in a full waiting room in the ER, they expedited me in there. I don't know if a call had been made or what, but they expedited me back. The attending was like, "Yeah, I think you're okay." And he came up with a couple of things that could be causing this or that. And he didn't really he didn't acknowledge why the folks here sent me up there. He's like, "Well, let us get our own images." So like I said, at this time, with the bullet being out of me, they could MRI me and CAT scan me. And they found that the bullet had actually scobbed some enamel off of one of the segments of my tailbone, and marrow had blobbed out. And that regime of antibiotics that surgeon that finally removed the bullet, stuff he gave me, that bacteria, we didn't get it. And that stuff flowered and flourished, and it migrated into my repairs. It migrated into my lower spine. So I was a sick fella.
Yeah, I was going to say, and once that gets into your spine, I mean, that starts getting to be a danger of being paralyzed and all kinds of things going on there.
You know, it being below the hips, not quite so bad. Yeah,
right.
Not quite so bad. It's more painful. Your
Well, I guess
tailbone.
so, yeah, we're right there in the tailbone area.
Yeah,
Okay, following you. But
all
it
of us
could
that have
raise.
fallen down on a hunting trip out in the ice, we know what that feels like. It hurts
Right.
like heck. So that was kind of the pain. So they started me on intravenous IVs right away, got me upstairs, back on the surgical floor, back with Dr. Choi and those folks. And they ran me. That was approximately September 20. I can't read my own handwriting. Sorry, folks.
You can sit there right here. If you
Yeah, I'll tell you, man. Me and my brain. So I got there September, whatever. I can't read it now.
That's all right.
Yeah. I got there in September, September 12th. So we got readmitted the second time on about the 10th. So what they did after having the imagery and everything, they started pushing a totally different cocktail of meds along with the antibiotics intravenously. So on the 22nd, Sorry, Trent, you may have to edit this one.
That's all right.
So anyway, I got there on September 10th. So by the 12th, my wife was in the room, sleeping in the room with me. They accommodated her. And I woke up and I couldn't. She said, something's up. So she hits the button right away, and I had left side deficit. Couldn't speak. Couldn't string words together. And immediately they said, "Uh-oh." So they ran some more tests. I forget exactly what all they did, and they came to the conclusion. In those surgical floors, you have two teams, and they do a handoff.
Oh yeah.
Well, the first team said, you had a transient ischemic attack.
Mm-hmm. TIA for short.
Then another one came in and said, well, from what I'm seeing, there's a possibility that's just cryptogenic. Didn't know what that meant. I was like, cryptogenic? What does that mean? So they left, and we Googled it, and it's
sounds ominous.
Sounds ominous, but it's is what it really boils down as. We don't know.
Yeah,
it happened. We know it happened, but we don't have a typical standout cause.
Right.
So Dr. Choi, my surgeon, he felt like potentially they'd gotten me on a drug that he was kind of leaning towards the gabapentin, that I just didn't tolerate it. Something went on. But my body was so drawn down. By the time I got back up there the second time, I was weak. My vitals sucked.
So just to pull everything
Yeah.
to where we're at now,
Yeah.
back.
Yep, I need
kind
that.
of bouncing around. But so you were shot. You got care flighted. They did the surgery on you. You came home, still had the bullet in you. They had to. Finally got that removed. Then because of that itself, you had gotten an infection, taking antibiotics, ended up having some issues with the original surgery that they did to put you all back together from the damage that the bullet had done, and you're in the hospital from the repairs from returning to the hospital, and have now woken up, and they're pretty sure you had a stroke.
Pretty sure I had a stroke.
Okay. I wanted to kind of catch us back up,
Yeah.
put all that back together. So now, not only has Jeff endured being shot and going through one surgery, now he's going through two surgeries, if you include the bullet. Now you're going through a third to fix the stuff that happened from the bullet being left in there. and now you've suffered from stroke.
Yeah,
That's a lot, brother. That is a lot of stuff. If I miss something, go ahead and put me back on track.
No, you got it. And like we talked before, we decided we were going to do this pod. We talked about iRabbit Trail. That's one of my takeaways.
That's one of your gifts you were given.
That's one of my little special little gifts. iRabbit Trail a bit. There was no actual surgical procedure the second time in the Justin Tower. The bullet removal was outpatient, and they pretty much just had to kill the infection on the second. So I was there the second time about 10 days.
Okay. Yeah, so I lost it a little bit there, but they were just basically trying to get the infection gone.
Right on.
Get all the swelling back down.
Yeah, sepsis. They were concerned with sepsis, and I guess I was flirting with that pretty heavy when I got there.
What they had you on the gabapentin for? I guess just for nerve. Was there some nerve damage as well?
That's what they were thinking, and here's what I think. I think subsequent to the opioid crisis, they stay away from those class of drugs, and now there's a different class of drugs they use on every kind of trauma. Gabapentin is one of them. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Troy thought I wasn't tolerating it well. So we went on along, and then 2 days later, I had another one. And in that window between the two stroke events, the deficit, by the time I got to the second event, the deficit was some better 48 hours later, but I was still, my eye was running and I was blinking quite a bit and twitching. Then I had a second one and went right back into the same left side deficit. About 48 hours later, I straightened out, but you can attest to now what that left for me was brain fog. Mm-hmm. Even after the deficit had subsided, the brain fog, the memory issues, fatigue, and when you're going through, fatigue usually getting up in the morning and later in the day. Everybody in my life, customers as well, will tell you that that stuff shows up. Mm-hmm. I think you've seen it.
The same for me.
Yeah.
Even while we sit here and visit, it takes 2 hours, basically set up and we sit here and visit. By the time we get to the end of this, my left eye is starting to drag. My words aren't as clear. So totally get it.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. So when we got out of the hospital, we were tired. Her and I were both tired, and God bless my wife. Boy, did God give me the right one.
Yeah, let's not forget about the caretakers.
No. I
do have some podcast interviews coming up for caretakers alone because they are God sent as well.
She might be a good one because she, they go through the same stuff, equally as tough, just different. Mm-hmm. Probably heavier, to be completely honest, because we've got folks taking care of us where, and that's something I think that we should go down with Broken Road Project is how to reach out and give support to immediate family, caretaker, spouse.
Absolutely.
Because there's just not really a mechanism other than super compassionate nursing staff.
For sure. And then, you have your chaplains. Sometimes you'll have a psychiatrist that's on staff that'll come, but the focus really isn't on the caretaker. And they're laying on the floor or sleeping in a hotel room. They're probably not eating that well.
That's right.
They're afraid to leave you because they want to be your advocate, and you need an advocate when you're in the hospital. There's a lot of things and shift changes, especially at the beginning of your stay, that don't get relayed properly. So, there may be that one nurse has figured out, hey, you can't do this with this patient. They go through their whole shift change. They tell that other nurse, but the nurse that's been with you for a couple of days is a lot different than the nurse that just came on shift and doesn't know anything about you. So having that advocate there, I think, is huge. And I'm kind of rabbit trailing on that a little bit myself, but they don't take care of themselves because they are so busy trying to make sure you're getting taken care of that you're going to survive this.
Yeah, and I think that's a place we can do better.
For sure. And
I think we can do better.
Yeah, and I hope that we can build a community. I mean, that's a big hope of mine, is that, we're reaching out. People are going to understand this. And I want to have people across the United States eventually that I'm in contact with, and, whether it's nursing staff, doctors, therapists, to say, hey, we have this patient here that has no family, or his wife's been here by herself and she's not taking care of herself. Do you have anybody in this area that can come out and, just be a support? Take that person at lunch, or, just sit there with them, have a shoulder to cry on. I mean, any of that.
We were blessed. Our charge nurse on the second trip, she was very compassionate towards the wife. The first trip, it was pretty much all focused on me, so she had a pretty hard time. Second trip, we had so many experiences. Maybe we can do another one of these, and I can go into some more of the nuances. But I also want to mention,
have her in if she would be willing to do it, and then I can interview both of y'all, and we kind of just bounce everything off, because Amber remembers a lot more of my situation than I do.
It was so funny. We were watching that pod with you and her, and it was pretty much us. Yeah. It was so much us. We're a little older than you guys, but it was pretty much the same walk. And all the unsung heroes in our lives. This town really circled around me. There's so many unsung heroes in my story.
I feel the same.
So many. And you don't really know. And, another thing, where Christ came in for me, he really put the right people around me. Mm-hmm. And I feel, I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in coincidence. It's just not part of my thought stream, not something I embrace. So yeah, God put the right folks in my way. So I had a long first year after we got out of that, and we were surgically sound, as they put it, and they sent me home. So I was dealing with recovery. Couldn't lift anything over 10 pounds. The fear becomes hernia. Mm-hmm. Didn't want to herniate. That's the last thing any guy wants. So just struggling with, okay, I'm feeling better. I feel like I can go to work, but I can't. Struggling with all the stuff between my ears. Really leaned on Jesus, because things got deep. Water got deep. And all the promises, man, they just kept coming, just being fulfilled and being fulfilled. But at the end of the day, I had some brain injury, and I had some spirit injury. Mm-hmm. And to everyone, the term post-traumatic stress, it gets thrown around, and there's opponents and proponents and believers and non-believers. Well, call it whatever you want, but it leaves a mark.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it. I mean, there's certain smells, certain sounds. There's just things that bring back, and I know we're talking about our traumatic, but this is for everybody across the board.
Trauma.
Just trauma in general, and that can be just mental trauma. It doesn't have to be physical trauma. There are things that people are dealing with everywhere, and there are things that bring it back. So I think PTSD is a legit thing. I think it's been held down, in my opinion, and it's been held down just because it doesn't work good for certain factions for that to exist. They're like, oh, wait, no, because that means that we have to hold some responsibility in this happening. It's becoming more accepted now, but I've seen it firsthand, and I've experienced it firsthand, and obviously you have to, and still do, I'm sure.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's a daily thing. In recovery, this thing, you're never done getting better. That's the thing, and if I'd have known that, if I'd have realized that, I would have lived a different adult life. You got to get up moving fast forward every day. If you can't hit fast forward, hit the low speed, but be moving forward. The worst thing for me, I found myself that in that first year, at times, depression and everything that comes along with trauma. And this being Stress Awareness Month, I really had to learn how to deal with stress completely different. And the only way I am still able to this day to do it is just a prayer walk. And I'm more obedient now. I'm still a huge work in progress. But I was very blessed. My pastor, Mike Fritcher, he counseled me every week, sometimes twice a week. He was available on the phone. Close friend, Dave Perez. Same thing. They came and kept their hands on us and loved us well throughout that, through this whole thing. But that first year, getting it all kind of stuck back together, going through recounting of all of this with you, to be a part of the Broken Road Project, I found some stuff that I had compartmentalized, that I'd moved past so fast I hadn't dealt with. And post-traumatic stress, when you go through it and you're feeling it, man, it's really tough to hear, well, that's a character strength thing. And, you need to just put that behind you. You can get on pods and see folks that have spent large blocks of time in combat, one of the hardest things in the world. And a couple of those guys will tell you got to move on. You got to put it down and move on. Stop living in the past. Well, when you're in the deep water of that really does kind of go against you. And
I don't think that tough love really necessarily is the beneficial.
Yeah,
I think you push some stuff down, it's gonna come back to the surface. It's buoyant. You can only hold it down for so long.
Yep,
even the toughest guys, I think, eventually, whether they do it behind closed doors, most likely, eventually, it's going to come out and it's going to be destructive and damaging.
Yep.
Not only to them, but the people that love them the most when that does come out.
That's why self-care is so important. I mean, you've got to take care of yourself, or you can't take care of anybody. And as men, we take care of everybody, especially believers. I was raised to believe that when you take a wife and you have a family, whether they do well, whether they do poorly, whether they are happy, whether they are unhappy, whether they know the Lord, that's all on you. God puts us first in the lineup. It's on us. So me having to realize that, look, I've got to deal with some of this stuff now for my folks. I've got to get better faster. So, yeah, some crumbs got left behind.
Yeah, I know it happens. You know, and Amber's still telling me right now, of course, I'm still pretty fresh out of it. I'm not even a full year yet. But I have some tough days. And Amber has to constantly remind me to give myself some grace, you know. And that's hard for me to even take at that point, because I really feel like I wasn't ready to be, I guess, disabled. I don't know. I wasn't ready for the lifestyle that I live now. Like I said, I wouldn't give anything. I wouldn't go back and change that.
Right.
But it still takes some adjusting, and I'm having to reinvent myself daily and look at who I was, what I want to be now, and what I want to try to be to others, and what I want Christ to do through me in my life with this podcast, and making sure that I keep that, I don't forget. I don't mind if there's a little bit of a thorn in my side to remind me, a little sting of, hey, this is it. But it is really hard to give myself grace at the same time, because I'm like, well,
You just said it all. Yeah, you just said it all for me. I mean, wow, that was pretty well said. So it is. I mean, recovery is a constant thing. I guess we'll reach a point in our recovery where we're hitting some milestones. But trauma never goes away. It will always pop back up. So if you don't learn self-care, and you don't lock in your prayer time every day, and you have to be disciplined. I mean, you just have to be disciplined and taking care of yourself. if you feel and you love and you care for your family and you want to stay in God's guidelines for what the family is like, you got to take care of yourself, man. We walk around thinking we know it when we don't know anything. And I was the first one. I was one of the worst offenders of, hey, I'm 50 years old. You ain't got to tell me nothing. Well, guess what? I listen to every bit of advice that comes my way on just about everything from just about anybody.
Yeah, that pride cometh before the fall.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And that's another thing. I don't want to go too far.
Tough.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far with this. Maybe another podcast, but I want to just kind of touch on it real quick. Everybody has a different view or different idea of how God works. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it goes from denomination to denomination, but I do believe there's a chastening. I do believe in God's plan, but I do believe with our freedom of free will, we can definitely go astray. Mm-hmm. And we've got to stay in touch with Him, and we've got to keep keep the big stuff in line. You can't be bitter. You have to love your brother. You have to love the person that hurt you. You have to go and ask for forgiveness for being angry at someone that may have hurt you. And once you kind of lay self down that way, that is one of those milestones I was talking about. But hey, guys, if you're bitter, if you can think of folks in your life that you haven't forgiven, I really encourage you to get that work done, turn your face towards Christ, and live a full life. We're sitting here and we're talking about tough stuff, but Trent's story is a story of victory. My story is a story of victory. We didn't just survive. We're living. And we are here to help other folks live. I mean, the rest of my life, I want to be a good husband and a good father and do good business. But that giving back thing, you really got to do that. And that's why the Broken Road just really feels like home to me, from the title you guys came up with, because that's truly what it is. It is a broken road. You fixed a lot of broken, washed out roads.
Yeah.
There's hope for broken roads. So I really want to impress that. If you're in a church and you're serving, the truth of the Gospels is, in my opinion, and I'm a layman, but in my opinion, you can't be bitter and love Christ. You can't be unforgiving and see the promises fulfilled. You just can't do it. It just won't happen. It just won't happen. You got to do that.
No, and I think He'll find you eventually where you're at. I mean, it's that or you're never found, and that's a sad place to be too. He'll find you where you're at.
He always does. And, He never does leave you. He'll leave you to yourself, but He doesn't leave you. When you do live with a hard heart and you live the Christian lifestyle, but the closet in your heart, the closet in your heart is just full of skeletons concerning forgiveness and bitterness and how you feel about your brother and your fellow man. For me, that has been the key to my recovery is, you can't receive what God wants you to receive unless you have your face towards Him. And it starts there. For me, it started there. I had to face Him and I had to get right. I mean, there's a lot of guys, a lot of folks, a lot of people, period. Bitterness. We're living in days where mental health is more talked about now than ever.
I agree.
But still not enough.
No.
Can't see wounds that folks that go through trauma, you can't see them a lot of times. And the only way to fix those kind of problems is Jesus Christ. For me, I think faith is hard, but he paid a price, and he went through a bunch of stuff that we can't even imagine, and he knew what he was doing. So I stopped, just to sum it up, Trent, I stopped paying so much attention to the devil, and I started putting my true fear and respect in God Almighty. Because the truth of it is, the devil's head is already smashed. He's already lost the fight. He just won't give up when he knows he's beaten. It's part of God's plan. I mean, there's so many things I just leave up to the mystery of God, and I don't pick on.
Yeah, I think that's something coming. It's something that's coming for me for sure, because there's a lot of people that watch this that know my past. They know where I came from. There's my testimony is a wild one.
Mine too. Yeah. The bitterness, unforgiveness thing. Yeah, you just can't communicate the way he intends us to if you're bitter. And I mean, we really got to soul search and get all of that poison out. I mean, that's poison. The walk in the world is hard enough. So you really have to do that housekeeping. I think that is essential. And I understand. There are folks that don't know Christ, that are great folks, that are going through trouble. And we want to help those folks too.
Absolutely.
I
think you start trying to cut that out, then we have totally lost our way.
Exactly. That's where I'm at. So
I'm not preaching to somebody that knows the word already isn't really doing any good.
That's right. All we're doing is
that Christianese speech. He's sitting there.
That's just community affirmation. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. The point is to get out there and help people that are lost. And let them know they're not alone, because I think, we could go on about this for hours. Really could. I was lost when I was in the hospital, and I did feel alone, even though I wasn't. But I think there's a lot of people, I've been kind of pounding that lately too, about that alone feeling. I haven't gone full blown as much as we have here, which I'm glad you brought it up. It needs to be out there. We need to talk about it. Need to talk about Jesus. Need to talk about our spirits and getting people where they need to be with themselves and with the Lord. But I've been pounding the idea that you're not alone. And I want people to know they're not alone, and on multiple levels. And that's a big point of this podcast is to hopefully reach out.
Yeah. I want to fulfill the mission he's given me, and just like the folks that in the gospel that Jesus met, from the blind man to the lady at the well, but all through the gospel, we have affirmation that Jesus wasn't preaching to believers.
Right.
So, again, I'm not preaching at all. But the broken road, whether you are Christian, whether you are not, the broken road is the broken road. And we are here for anybody that is on the broken road. If you find God there, of course, that would make us feel great. But if you're not a Christ believer, a Christ follower, hey, you're still one of us. You're still going through trauma. God will come to you. Your spirituality will become part of your recovery. And I just don't want to exclude anybody with the strong profession of Christ and how that is related to my broken road. Everybody's story is different.
Right.
I can honestly say, there are things that I do on this side of my recovery that I didn't do as a man. I try to love everybody, and I say I love you. So, hey, we love all you guys, all you ladies, all you families, even children. We love you. We know what love means. We've received a lot of it that was transformational in our walks. My walk, Jesus Christ is a huge part of it. I'm here to discuss my walk, and God is good, Christ is real. So yeah,
I appreciate you hitting on that. And that kind of, that catches us up to where we're at now, right? As far as your recovery journey goes, it's an ongoing thing.
Pretty much.
And I don't think that you can tell the recovery story without talking about the Lord. So,
yeah, I can't. Me personally, I can't.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't. And all of us in our adulthood that are functional, contributing adults, we learn that honesty is the best policy. So I've got to be honest. There were times where I would isolate myself and hide. Man, that is not moving forward.
No.
That is stagnancy. And you just can't get stagnant in your recovery. You got to keep moving forward.
It's a lot easier to curl up in a ball, let the world pass you by, keep your eyes closed. It's a lot easier to do that than it is to get up and move. There's a lot of pain involved with recovery, a lot of pain involved with therapy, the things that it takes to get out and do. And not, I'm talking about physical pain, but there's mental pains in that too, because you do have to face your deficits, that you're not the same man as you were before it happened. I had to face that. I'm still facing that on a daily. Like I said,
Me
I'm
too.
having to reinvent myself, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I had somebody, I think I was telling you about it, an old customer had wanted me to look at something. I said, well, hey, I had a stroke. I can't really function that way right now. It's not happening. And they, probably not maliciously, but just out of ignorance, said, well, I thought you got over that. Well, for anybody that doesn't know, stroke is kind of one of those deals that is ongoing recovery for the rest of your life. And I would say the same. You got double whammy, with getting shot, having that, and the stroke. It's just it's a lot. A lot on both ends, physically and spiritually and mentally, that you're dealing with to try to recover. Water moves in the path of least resistance as well, so it doesn't have to. Water can push and tear something straight down. It's a powerful force. So we don't have to follow the path of least resistance, but human nature is to kind of do that, which leaves you in a bad spot. Well, it's way easier to just curl up and not deal with anybody. At the time, long term, it's bad.
There's levels to trauma, but trauma's trauma. You called it the double whammy. Yeah, that's how far God had to take me to bring me back to Him. Don't be that guy.
No. And I think that's why we're trying to get this out there.
Don't be that guy.
Is hopefully, we wouldn't listen either. I'm sure you
know
me. I'm super hard-headed. But,
yeah.
For this generation coming up, or anybody hopefully that this podcast reaches, this is kind of giving you a glimpse at what could be your future. And there are ways to circumvent some of it. And there's a chance that you do everything right and you're following the Lord and you take good care of your body and something still happens. But what you don't normally see is that in that circumstance, He's still moving. There is still something happening. So even though, and that's where people say, why, God? Why did this happen to me? And you get in that why mentality. I don't feel that way. I know why.
Yep.
But there's never that question of why is a bad place to be too. Somewhere, like you said at the very beginning of this podcast, that you don't believe in coincidence. Somewhere, somebody heard about your story or knows your story, even if you did all the right things, that wakes them up out of their sleep. You know, a lot of people are asleep and don't know they're asleep right now. That Ben Fuller song "Wide Awake" is so big to me right now because I didn't know I was sleeping. You know, I really didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm wide awake now. And he made sure I was. He was just like, bam, let me just go ahead and drive and pound this into you right here really quick.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you back. You know, I feel like I was giving back a ton. The deficits are very little to be observed. I still deal with a lot. And I've recovered really quick.
I have too.
But I don't take that lightly, and I'm spending every amount of time I have trying to give back now, and share that.
It becomes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I can sit here and rattle on that.
Me
for
too.
A while.
You hit on so many things. I have to watch out, and not interrupt you.
No,
but
go
you
ahead.
hit on so many things. I'm 3 years from my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that a little earlier. I'm 3 years into recovery. You're in your first year.
Right.
You going through much different? Am I going through much different stuff than you, or you than me? No. I've got 3 years. You've got about a year in, not quite. And we're here to tell you, we're here, and we're here to tell you, it doesn't go away. You're gonna have to deal with your recovery. You're gonna have to deal with all of the things, and those things are different for everybody. And we're here for you.
That's right.
Your road is fixable. If you feel lost, hey, I did too. So did Trent. I felt lost last night, but my God pulled me out of it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and don't fall into the trap of, especially the social media trap. And I mean, I can tell there's probably people that don't see the struggles that I have, but I try to be really honest about it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cut a lot out in my videos. You know, people that know me know that I didn't say as much. Didn't have these long gaps. It's just my brain doesn't work quite the same.
Yeah,
but there's a trap of looking at people, even going to church, and oh man, they look like they got it all together. Everything's right. There is absolutely no one, and I am convinced of this, that has it together.
Yeah, again, we're on the same page.
We are all broken people. I mean, there is no doubt. So if anybody is trying to put off that they are this hot stuff, and the social media is the worst of it now, and that's what these kids are seeing growing up, you know?
Yeah.
You can do this, make a bunch of money, and this is what makes you cool, and, you know, whatever that is, and it doesn't mean nothing. I think I brought it up, and I'll bring it up to the day I die, that
Me too.
when I was sitting in that hospital and I couldn't see, and I couldn't talk, and I couldn't walk, I realized it didn't matter the amount of money that I made or what job was coming next or any of that. All I wanted was my family and my health. I didn't care about any of that. Well, it didn't matter. I couldn't shake that money at somebody and go, make me better.
Yeah, look at that. I'm better than you.
Watch me fix this with this money. No, that doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen.
Well, it's not of God. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And I was the world's worst at all of that. So much to say. I think we need to do another one. I would even be willing to. I mean, there's just so much here that between the two of us, we have to share. And that's where I was going with the honesty comment. When you find humility, and that's where God wants you, and that's where you can be the best person, is stay humble.
Absolutely.
So part of staying humble is being vulnerable. And I was about as toxically masculine as they come, and I would say you probably were too. We never felt like it was toxic, and we don't feel now like masculinity is toxic. But were we toxic? Probably to a degree. I know I was, with the bitterness and the unforgiveness I mean, you want to talk about bondage, that's bondage. So, you healed pretty fast physically. They told me I healed physically super well, far faster than they thought. Mm-hmm. It's that head and heart thing that is the rest of your recovery. Mm-hmm. The head and the heart get scrambled, and you've got to find your center again, and whatever that center may be. But take care of yourself. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay. It's part of it. We didn't win every day. Did you win every day? I still don't think I win every day. I still think I'm trying. I'm climbing that ladder. Yeah. And they didn't tie it off on the mezzanine, and it slips with every step I take.
That's a good way to put it.
But yeah, we got to support each other, and God bless you guys, and God bless your broken road. Your broken road is a gift. My broken road was a gift. Even though you can't see it now, you may not see it for a while. I promise you it was a gift. Trent, myself, this is Trent's project. So I just want to compliment Trent. I want to back up the guy backing people up because, this project is near and dear to me. I feel honored to be a part of it, and I think it's super, super necessary. I love you, man.
I love you, too. I appreciate that. I think that's a good spot for us to call it on this one. I mean, we could probably do this for hours, and I hope y'all have enjoyed this this conversation, and I hope it reached you where you need to be. And we'll have more conversations like this coming up. I really appreciate you sharing your story with me, Jeff. I know it's not an easy thing. I think it was meant to happen today. It went really well.
Yeah,
I know that wasn't easy. You did good.
Well, you did too, man. And this is why the broken road is so important. I am getting so much from you and being around you. I have really kind of stepped through just in the last couple of weeks. I've stepped through a threshold. A big spot because I got into the grind of I'm better, it's okay, and there've been some months of not the right amount of self-care. Still keeping Christ first, but take care of yourselves, guys. Take care of yourselves, whatever that means. Take care of yourself. That means don't be negative. That means find your center. That means love the people that are loving you. It means those things. Keep up the fight.
Amen, brother. Y'all have a good one. God bless.